Well, let's get into his astrology. So, Jeffrey Epstein was born January 20th, 1953 at 6:15 a.m. in Brooklyn. So, we have a verified birth time for him. That yeah, right. It definitely helps. So that means that he was a Capricorn rising at 12 degrees. He had a Chiron in Capricorn at 15 degrees, so that was conjunct his rising. And his sun is at 0 degrees Aquarius. Yeah. So first house stuff, your identity is gonna be something big. Capricorn rising, often creates a child who feels older than their years. Can you confirm?
Yes, can confirm. Can confirm. I've been 38 for 38 years.
Yeah, there's an early awareness of hierarchy, right? And reputation and achievement. So even in a stable home, there can be quite an internal pressure within to prove oneself. And with Chiron sitting right on that rising, identity itself could feel wounded or maybe insufficient. So that placement often correlates with a lifelong attempt to compensate for an early sense of not being enough.
So, like, even if the outside looks stable internally, there could still be that pressure system forming.
Yeah, exactly. And Capricorn rising doesn't always mean hardship, but it almost always means self-monitoring. And when you add Chiron there, it becomes, I need to become powerful so I don't feel small. Now, his sun is at 0 degrees Aquarius in the first house. Aquarius at 0 degrees is that brand new energy. So it could express as visionary independence, or it could be emotional detachment that hasn't matured yet. So Aquarius can rationalize behavior in the name of ideology. And his sun is squaring both his Saturn and his Neptune that are both in Libra in his ninth house. So that creates tension between identity and belief systems. So when Saturn squares Sun, that can create insecurity masked as control. And when Neptune squares Sun, that can blur moral clarity if it's not integrated. So together, those aspects can create someone who intellectually justifies their own behavior.
So this is less about chaos and more about rationalization.
Yeah. And this chart doesn't scream like an impulsive criminal, right? It suggests someone who could construct a narrative where they are correct. But emotionally, he has an Aries Moon, and it's at 7 degrees in his third house. Aries Moon is competitive. It needs to feel ahead. And it struggles with empathy at the lower vibration of Aries because it reacts before it reflects. So being accelerated in school twice, being younger than his peers, but outperforming them, would feed that lunar placement. It reinforces the I'm ahead, I'm different.
Yeah. So it did feed his ego.
A little bit. A little bit.
Yeah. So he's
One
like,
can assume.
Yeah. I'm tutoring. I'm the talent here.
Yes.
I've got this reputation as a smart kid and I know it.
Yep. And that moon placement doesn't want to be ordinary. It wants to win all the time. So then we can look at his relationships. And he has Pluto retrograde in Leo in his 7th house, along with his South Node. And that's familiarity with power through partnership, since the 7th house is one-on-one relationships and partnerships. Leo in the 7th wants admiration from others. When Pluto's there, it intensifies it. And at the lower vibration, it can turn relationships into like arenas of dominance or control.
Okay. So I'm seeing how this is going to connect with his future relationships, like the attachments equal leverage.
Yes. And Uranus retrograde sits exactly on his descendant line in Cancer, and it's opposing that Chiron on his ascendant. So that's unstable relationship dynamic, since the DC line represents your relationships and it starts your 7th house. Relationships that activate identity wounds are going to be this relationship between the two. So it can manifest as boundary issues, especially if emotional development lags behind intellectual development. And then financially, he has Mars and Venus conjunct in Pisces in the second house. So that's charm tied directly to money, since second house rules finances and
Ooh.
stability. Yes. And Pisces blurs boundaries. So in the second house, it can blur the lines around how value is created. Or maybe at the highest vibration, it's intuitive with wealth. So at the lower vibration, it can operate in those gray areas.
Which becomes very relevant once he moves to Wall Street.
Very relevant, yes. And, this is a chart. If at the lower vibration, it can prioritize image, power, and self concept over emotional accountability.
We got themes a building.
Mm-mm-mm-mm.
Mm-mm-mm.